Fancy yourself some pure B-movie schlock? Then look no further than 1995's Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold, or Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfolds, depending on which version you're looking at here. This one is directed by Fred Olem Ray and stars J.J. North as our main centerfold, Angel. This is clearly a kind of spoof, if you like, of the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, I believe it was called. And it's obviously a low-budget, schlocky movie with essentially an excuse to, you know, oogle attractive women and have a very thin plot surrounding it. But what is the plot, I hear you say? You're dying to know the narrative of this interesting story. Well, I'm going to tell you. So it focuses on these three centerfolds, and they are kind of jockeying for position to become the #1 centerfold for the year. And it's up to this Hugh Hefner type who lives at this kind of a mansion to judge these three centerfolds and who's going to become the playmate of the year, essentially. And this one particular centerfold, Angel, feels like she is on a bit of a losing battle, and she's kind of like the nice girl out of the three of them, so to speak. But she goes to this doctor that she has been to before, who has given her like a serum to make her even more beautiful. However, this serum has an unexpected side effect in the fact that it causes her to grow ginormous and become a giant. In fact, a 60-foot centerfold, if you will. Now, what will happen? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss what I think works with Attack of the 60-Foot Centerfold. Now, obviously, with a film like this, you are not meant to be taking it seriously. And as such, the tone of this movie is obviously fairly kind of light and upbeat and schlocky fun to the end of the day. What this film does have is a lot of kind of little nods and references to various kind of sci-fi and B-movie films before it. Everything from, obviously, the original Attack of the 50-Foot Woman to The Invisible Man and beyond. There's a few kind of fun references kind of here and there. We have an amusing B-plot, if you like, that, to be honest with you, feels a little unnecessary, but there you go, where we have the doctors at this particular laboratory place trying to deal with giant rodents that they have kind of experimented on, and one of them kind of gets loose and they, you know, have to get the exterminator in and such. So that has its own kind of little storyline kind of going on there. And yes, there's oodles of flesh on display here. So much so that it's actually can't kind of show you anything on this movie because there's mostly naked women through the whole movie. And of course, yes, they're all very attractive, and there's lots of kind of like, you know, imagery here that would appeal to, I would say, certain demographics. Now, obviously, there is, I would say, a certain kinkiness factor here, and I think we've seen it in recent years with the Resident Evil Village game that came out, and everyone was kind of somewhat obsessing about that Lady D character. So there's obviously something of a kind of a fetish for imagining you're in the grasp of a kind of a giant woman, so to speak. And if that's your kind of thing, then this movie may well be for you. And I'm going to say, I think J.J. North, she's not a best actor, let's be honest with you, but she's still kind of quite cute, and it does kind of have this kind of little bit of a love story going on, this kind of like the nerdy, you know, assistant to the photographer and everything like that. So it tries to have a little bit of a heart to it. But what doesn't work for this movie, it's so kind of lightweight. I mean, this movie is kind of one of like, should have been a skit. It feels like this is a sketch from like a comedy show, but it's just stretched out to a movie. I don't think the concept here really feels like it warrants a movie, because even though this isn't a long film, it's fairly short, and they do try and kind of pad out the running time, as I say, with this B plot, with this kind of like this giant rat that's on the loose, and then we have a kind of a love story. It really feels like the movie doesn't really go anywhere, and the actual attack bit is relatively kind of shortened towards the end. Obviously, it's a low budget film, and especially by today's standards, but even in 1995 standards, the effects here are obviously on the cheaper side, and some of them are fun. They use a mixture of, you know, composite shots and false perspective and things like that. Although some of them are fun, it's obviously not going to be for anyone who's particularly discerning about you know, quality kind of special effects and kind of things like that. Yes, the actors are kind of hammy. They're meant to be. There are a couple of funny jokes here, but a lot of them are kind of quite lame and fall kind of quite flat on its face, unfortunately. It's a very forgettable B movie, to be honest with you. It's kind of a one joke pony, so to speak, or whatever the saying is. But it's when you've kind of had enough of that joke, it becomes a little bit, you know, dull, to be honest with you. So it's a little bit of an oddity. It's a little bit of a schlocky bit of fun, but it's so kind of like forgettable, and there's just not enough to it. It's not a particularly interesting film to watch as a movie. It's a fun concept to watch for a few minutes, and there's a couple of fun scenes here and there, but as a film, it ultimately kind of outstays its welcome, even with its meagre running time. I'll give this a 4 out of 10. Lots of pretty women, however. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.